Philippines, and I will be your host for today. Welcome to the Public Sector Productivity Webinars organized by the Center of Excellence on Public Sector Productivity of the DAP. For this webinar series, it is titled Productivity Initiatives to Improve Service Delivery in the Local Government. And this is actually day 2 for this series. To rewatch the previous day, please find it on our Facebook page and YouTube channel. Now, in this series, we aim to 1. Showcase initiatives from selected LGUs which enhance service delivery and productivity. And 2. Provide some insights on the challenges of implementing such initiatives in the local government. So, before we begin, we'd like to acknowledge some of our viewers watching us live via Facebook and YouTube. A warm welcome to our participants from Napolcom, Region 7, LGU Basay, all right, South Cotabato, PhilHealth Tarlac Office, NHMFC Makati, Maasin City, Negros Oriental State University, Maritime Industry Authority, Central Office, National Productivity Secretariat, LGU Tanjay City, Maritime Industry Authority, LGU San Joaquin Iloilo, and for the many others in attendance, welcome. Can't mention all of you because there's so many of you in attendance today, but we're so glad so many of you could be with us today. Now, we would just like to remind our participants that in order to get an e-certificate of attendance, you should 1. Accomplish the session evaluation forms, and 2. Also pass the exam to be provided. The unified 2-day evaluations and exam will be given towards the end of today's session. And for any questions you may have for our speakers, please feel free to type them in the Facebook comment section or in YouTube live chat section. We'll have a Q&A session later to answer as many questions as possible. Now, to formally begin, our first presentation will be all about addressing geohazard challenges using geographic information systems. Our presenter for this topic is the Municipal Planning and Development Officer from the Municipality of Guagua, Pampanga. She graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and a Master's degree in Public Administration, both from Guagua National Colleges. On top of which, she is also a registered environmental planner. Today, she will present to us the Municipality of Guagua's geographic system. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all give a warm welcome to our presenter, Ms. Elsa Perez-Pantino.
Sa lahat po, magandang hapon sa kanilang lahat. So, we'd like to proceed now for our presentation. So, I'd like to begin with the presentation or the profile itself. Next, please. So, I would like to provide a little profile of Guagua. It's located at the southwest portion of Pampanga province, situated along the Pasig Potrero River, one of the main river channel of Mount Pinatubo. And likewise, it is the commercial center in the 2nd district of Pampanga and around 77 kilometers away from north of Manila. We have a small area, 4,857 hectares, predominantly devoted to agriculture, several light industries like retail trade industries and banking institution. Next. So on our left side is the map of Central Luzon or the Pampanga itself. The yellow one indicated is the location or the area of Guagua, which is transverse quite near the Pampanga River. On our right is the map of Central Luzon, wherein you can see the red dot or the red area map of Guagua, Pampanga. Next slide, please. So this is one of our maps being produced with the use of Map Info, the software that we are using. So the red area are mostly our institutional area. The yellow one is the built-up area. This is the main artery road passing through traversing. We call it the Jose Abad Santos. The lower portion, the green one, is our brackish water, and the up portion is the agricultural portions of our town. Next slide, please. So what have been the issues that we have encountered during the course of the start of our geographic information system? It started before or after the Mount Pinatubo eruption, which is around 40-kilometer radius of the foot of the Mount Pinatubo. We lacked any digital map to identify the exact boundaries of the municipal boundaries from our neighboring towns during the Mount Pinatubo eruption. During that time, it's very important to know the boundaries. So where are you situated? Which are the hazard area that passes through the Lahar flows? We don't have any spatial map to be used as basis in identifying the hazards area of the Pasig Potrero River channels that wherein the Lahar flows is passing from the upstreams to downstreams. We don't have any IEC materials available in the monitoring of the Lahar flow, aside of course of the hand-drawn map we are using at the time, which is from the late middle of 90s up to early of 2000. And we have difficulty in identifying residents in hazard area due to the lack of digital maps. Where are you located? Are you one of the identified hazard area? We cannot identify it as much, wherein it's very difficult for us to check the hazards of every residence. And only what we have at that time is unreliable and unskilled hand-drawn maps from our Office of the Municipal Engineer. Next slide, please. We have the two key functions of our GIS to assist in disaster management, because at that time, one of the very important things is to save the Guagua, the residents, and to save lives and properties. And secondly, we have the administration of tax program that until now we are using in land valuation, land use improvements, including disputes on boundaries. We have to set aside the basis of our disputes because we know that there are so many bases in identifying the disputes. But using the map info, you can identify which area you are located. At the same time, you can see visually the areas you are within. Okay. So next slide, please. The development of the GIS started in 1997. We had assistance from the Australian Agency for Development, AUSAID, through a private sector linkages program that NAMRIA has endorsed to us. And then one of the private entities that help us also is PHILIS, the Philippine Land Information System, through its linkages to Mimica Party Limited in the technology in the cadastral data captured. Wherein numerical data were encoded using the Quattro Pro, the equivalent of what they call this one, the Excel right now, in encoding all the data, computations, and then through that system, we were able to build up the data capture of the cadastro. Next. Our objective is to systematize and provide a complete and accurate spatial base essential for any municipal GIS. It is important to have a base map for you to start with and prepare other maps for hazards, land valuation, land use mapping, and others. And to acquire all available data, cadastral data from all concerned agencies. On our part, we gathered information or data from Land Management Bureau, the official lot data computation. We have around 20 books of mother titles wherein the coordinates were encoded and used as basis for the map itself. To build up data which will lead to effective administration, asset management. So good information, right information, and the source of your information should be right so that the data, when it will be published in the mapping tools, will be also correct. Next slide, please. Next, please. What version of GIS we are using? In the data capture, we are using MapInfo version 4.5. It was introduced by Ersis Australia Party Limited in Brisbane, Australia. Actually, we are two personnel who undergone the initial stage of the training in the school in Brisbane, Australia. And they are trying to take a look if the system itself can work out in the data captured in our locality. And after that, of course, it will be used in the other areas, in other LGUs in the Philippines. At the Office of the Municipal Planning and Development Coordinator, we are able to tutor other 3 staffs in data captured. So not only I was able to transfer the technology to other members of our offices, including the engineering assessor and the MDRRM. Next slide, please. The development started with the encoding of the 600 lot data in Quattro Plaza mentioned. And then also our references are the maps from NAMRIA, the acquisition of the digital topographic maps in AutoCAD form, and then we were able to convert it to other versions, just like any other GIS system source. Likewise, we are using the what you call the open source that the DILG is using. So all you have to do is convert it to one system to another. And the offices of the Land Management Bureau in our region, we were able to acquire the subdivision plan, the old and new. At the moment, we are collecting new subdivision plan through the offices of the engineering, where whenever there are permits to be prepared, we are requiring all applicants to submit also the subdivision plan in our office as our basis in encoding the additional new subdivision plan. And likewise, under the registry of deeds, we have copies of their titles to verify if they are matching with the subdivision plan being given to us. Okay, next slide, please. The applications, we have the land tax management. As of now, we have more than 118,000 parcels, and it keeps increasing. Tax information of every parcel lots to determine the exact figure, area, and other data related to land management. Not only that, you could encode the data on lot data, sizes or area, the boundaries as per tax map. You could easily do that using the system information. Okay, next slide. This is the actual, what do you call it, farm or the parcels of Guagua. On our left is the totality of Guagua. So we were able to capture the total area. And then on the densely colored black are the area of the roads, and the densely smaller parcels located along the road network. And at the bottom is the area are the brackish water or the fish fan area located in the downstream portions. To take a closer look ng mga parcels, one identifiable number of each parcel is the lot data computation. So this identification you can check the information of each parcels. This is the location of our park on this side, and the 4885 is the location of the church. The 4884 is the location of the municipal building where I am now. So this area, the parcels, you could identify and check if the subdivision plan matches this GIS map, and then verifying it to tax map in the other documents that we have in our offices. Next slide, please. One of the main use of the GIS is the preparation of our comprehensive land use plan, which is being updated every 2 terms of the mayor or 3 terms of our LCE. We are able to create a digital spatial map in the formulation of various CLU maps that are being required. The classification of land use makes it easier and convenient because all you have to do is to input what kind of classification of land it is, and then when you do your own thematic map, it already set itself on a map, and it's much easier, and there's no need to do it manually. As long as the information of the land classification is encoded, it goes there. It's automatic. And it is cost effective in the preparation of CLUP. So we are not hiring any more consultant in the preparation of map. Right now, we are just requesting printing of maps in our area. Before we requested the NIDA to have our maps to be printed, because at that time the cost of a plotter is quite expensive. And we don't need a plotter to be just stuck in the office, because the maps can be printed for other verification through an A4 map, and then have it checked in the bigger map. So just for our convenience, it's much easier for us to just make a parcels of every map and then do the investigation. Next slide. So this is the classification or the maps that being produced. The approved general land use map, the existing general land use map, and the urban land use and the existing. So for our next term, all you have to do is check those parcels that have changed in their land use, and then it printed itself on its own. Okay, so there are the samples that we have. This is the boundary map that we have. The pink one is we call the Betis area. We have 7 barangays included in there. The yellow one is the poblacion, wherein most of the trade and industry is being done. And likewise on the bottom side, we have the blue one is the lotion, where you call it, wherein the location of the Geohazard road is located, and basically the built up area is located. Okay. So next, this is the new one, the 2016. Oh, can you turn it back, please? So the green one is the agriculture, the red one are the institutional. So all the requirement legends, you can easily change it as long as the information on your thematic map are indicated. Okay, so there's no need to manually do it. Next slide. As the proposed land use, this is a multi-hazard map. The high susceptibility on what they call it, land information is included there. The lower you go, the settlement is higher. So this is one of the requirements of the ILG and the CLUP. Next slide, please. Another hazard maps. The basis of our hazard map was taken from the NAMRIA maps that being given to every LGU. Also, GIS is a tool in disaster management. It utilizes support decision and risk management processes. Likewise, provide information and address specific aspect of the lahar and flooding in hazard mapping. So Guagua has three major hazards. We have the flood, we have the settlement, and the eruption, because we are quite near a 40 kilometer radius. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Another hazard maps, that traffic management maps that being done. Next slide. This is the overlay of parcels to Google Map. We were able to check which area are need for development. This is one of the projects we are trying to acquire. The MRF is located at the center, and this is the roadmap taken from our map info and overlay it in a certain Google Map. Okay, next slide, please. Issues, it is still under the unit of the Office of the MPTC and continuously undertaking data capture in coordination with LMB and Registry of Deeds. Issues on barangay boundaries are being undertaken and used as the map info as basis. And the preparation of various kinds of map from vicinity, disaster map, flood maps, road maps are being done through the GIS. Next slide, please. Yes, we all know that GIS is a long-term undertaking, but even though it's long-term, it is, as you completed a part of it, you can already use it in the various undertaking of and decision-making of your LGU. It needs, of course, the support of the local leaders, because mostly you need some upgrade and support, and then you have to get staffs to do the continuous data capture. And typically, what we have experienced, that bottleneck is in the data capture and the availability of data. And of course, the human resources is also included, because they are the main leader in the data capture form. Next slide. So that's it. So maybe for later, there are questions on other aspect of our project itself. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, Ms. Pantino. I guess one of my takeaways from your presentation is that you intended it to be just about geohazards, but I think you expanded it into other uses as well. So maybe we can talk about that later. Now, moving on to our next presentation, it will be all about building systems for data management and utilization. Our presenter for this topic graduated with a degree in civil engineering from the National University, and he is currently working as the Municipal Planning and Development Officer of Magallanes, Cavite. Today, he will present to us the community-based monitoring system of Magallanes, Cavite. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all give a warm welcome to our presenter, Mr. Roilan Reyes.
Hey, magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. So, let's start po yung ating presentation. So, ito yung sa Magallanes, Cavite Community-Based Monitoring System or CBMS Building Systems for Data Management and Utilization. Next slide po. Okay. Ang sabi po, lack of data makes it difficult for a municipality to address the existing data gaps at the local level, to determine the causes of poverty, to formulate appropriate policies and programs, and to effective and efficiently implement the programs of the government. Without the presence of evidence-based data leads to inaccurate and unreliable information that can give misleading results. With the need to have a common, accurate, comprehensive, and consolidated system to target the poor, which provides updated and disaggregated demographic data. The local government unit of Magallanes, Cavite, which is a fourth-class municipality, adopt a monitoring system which is the community-based monitoring system. Next one. Okay, CBMS is an organized technology-based system of collecting, processing, and validating necessary disaggregated data at the local level that may be used for planning, program implementation, and impact monitoring at the local level that promotes evidence-based policymaking and program implementation while empowering communities to participate in the process. Next po. Why CBMS? To have a common, accurate, comprehensive, and consolidated system to target the poor, which provides updated and disaggregated demographic data necessary for targeting beneficiaries and conduct more comprehensive poverty analysis and needs prioritization. To have evidence-based plans and programs on socioeconomic situations, hazards, societal vulnerability, and poverty diagnosis, which is used for planning and programming purposes. Sa mga next slide po namin papakita kung paano ho ginamit itong mga data na to. And to use as a tool for disaster risk reduction and management, planning and response, which identify household, vulnerable groups, and possible victims of natural disasters brought out by climate change. And to have barangay level statistics, providing insights on health, nutrition, housing, water and sanitation, shelter, education, literacy, income, employment, security, participation, and location. So binibigay din ho namin sa barangay yung mga statistics data na kailangan ng barangay para sa kanilang pagpaplano. Next slide po. So ito ho yung background ng implementation ng Magallanes CBMS. No? Pang fourth round daw kasi namin ngayon, yung aming CBMS round 1 ay nangyari ho noong 2011. No? 2011 which is ito ho ay paper-based pa. Hindi ho kagaya ng 2016, 2019, and ngayon 2022 na ito po ay tablet-based na. Yun ang aming CBMS round 1, 2, 3. Ito ho ay sa pamumuno ng CBMS Network Team, DILG, NAPSI, and LGU. So may pagkakaiba ho ito ngayon sa ating round 4. Next slide po. So ayan po, dito ho sa round 4, ito ho ay naging batas na ho kasi. So ito ang ngayon ay PSA, DILG, DICT, and LG, yun ho ang magkakapartner. Ito ho ang aming CBMS round 4 ay sinisimulan na ho namin ngayong August at ongoing ho ang aming data enumeration. Next slide po. So ito ho naman yung mga highlights. Noon hong 9 CBMS National Conference, naimbitahan po tayo ng CBMS sa national para mag-present. No? Nag-present ho tayo sa hindi ako nagkakamali sa ano to eh. Ito ho, Crown Plaza, Manila. No? So, ang binigay ho sa aking topic, yung application po ng CBMS for Disaster Risk Reduction Management and Climate Change Adaptation. At noon ho namang 2018, 14th CBMS National Conference, naimbitahan po naman yung ating butihing Mayor, Jasmine Angeli Maligaya Bautista, para ho mag-present sa topic na Meeting the Challenges in Disaster Preparedness through CBMS. Next slide po. Next po. So, is din ho sa highlights, noong March 19, 2019, bumisita ho dito yung, pakibalik. pakibalik po sa next slide. Ayan, ito pa. Bumisita ho dito sa Municipality of Magallanes ang LGU of Caraga, Davao Oriental. No? At pinresent ho namin yung CBMS dahil curious sila kung ano ba yung CBMS at kung paano namin ginagamit. So pinresent ho ng staff ko yung aming statistician 1, si Miss Caroline Berber, dahil nagkataon ho na nasa seminar ako nun sa Tagaytay. So siya lang ho nag-present sa buong LGU ng Caraga at nung siguro mga 1 month o 2 months after, nakita ho namin na yung LGU ng Caraga ay nagsi-CBMS na rin po. Next slide po. So naimbitahan din po noong August 13, 2020 ang ating butihing mayor webinar on assessing the CBMS as a tool in local development planning. Yung community-based monitoring system as a local planning tool ng Municipality of Magallanes. So, pinresent ho ni Mayor kung paano ho namin ginagamit yung aming CBMS para sa local development planning. Next slide po. So, ito ho. Yung LGU of Magallanes ay sumali din ho sa Digital Governance Award na kinundak ho ng DICT, DILG, and NICP. Ini-entry ho namin dito ay yung Evidence-Based Disaster Risk Reduction and Management CBMS used during COVID-19. Kasi ang inano dito yung Best in COVID-19 Pandemic Response. At nakakuha ho kami ng second place. No? Ang nag-first place ho kasi dito ay ang Municipality of Baliwag, Bulacan. Next slide po. So nag-participate din po kami December 6, 2021, last year po to, in the Development Academy of the Philippines Compendium of Best Practices or yung Evidence-Based Disaster Risk Reduction and Management CBMS used during COVID-19. So ayan ho yung presentation din ho namin doon. Next slide po. So ito ho yung utilization ng aming CBMS data, saan ho ba namin ginamit, anong mga plano. So yung amin hong Comprehensive Development Plan 2021 to 2026, sa Peace and Order and Public Safety Plan, CBMS-based Barangay Development Plan. Ginamit din ho ito sa Local Public Transport Route Plan at sa amin hong Land Use Plan no, 2016 to 2025. Ito rin ho sa Local Shelter Plan at sa aming Resilient Tourism Development Plan. Next slide po. So yung mga data rin ho ng CBMS ay ginamit din ho namin sa lahat ng pagpaplano sa Disaster Risk Reduction and Management. So dito ho, itong mga plano na to, kung saan nakapaloob ho yung data ng CBMS, yun ang aming contingency plan for the big one, contingency plan for earthquake and induced landslide, sa local climate change action plan, sa disaster risk reduction and management plan, sa amin hong solid waste management plan, and sa climate and disaster risk assessment or SIDRA. So lahat hong plano na to na pinakita namin ay ginamitan ho ng CBMS data. Next slide po. So ito ho, sa using CBMS data and CBMS maps, so there are plans use number of data of household to be affected by natural disasters or calamity. The Geo reference point, GPS, was very helpful to locate household with vulnerable and household that are located in a hazardous area. So sa mga mapa po na yan, may ipakita namin, madali naming malocate yung mga vulnerable groups. Nakagawa rin ho kami ng mga exposure map. yun hong ating, hindi lang ho nakasama dito, yung ating route map o kung saan pagdating ng disaster, madali naming malocate o madali nating makita yung tamang daan para una nating mailigtas yung ating mga vulnerable groups. Next po. So ito ho, dito ho namin talagang gamit na gamit sa Taal Volcano Eruption yung aming data ng CBMS. Last January 2020, pumutok ko yung Bulkang Taal. Medyo malapit ho sa amin to. Hindi ho naman kami naabot ng asphalt. Kaya lang ho, more than 1,000 individuals ho ang pumunta dito sa amin, nag-evacuate dito sa Magallanes at pumunta ho sila sa kanilang mga foster homes. Medyo nahirapan ho kami kasi ayaw pumunta yung mga evacuees sa aming mga evacuation center kasi doon na raw sila sa kanilang mga kamag-anak. So using CBMS data and CBMS map, na easily locate po namin yung household na nag-accept ng mga evacuees, na-identify ho namin yung mga household na affected din ng Taal eruption, at na-verify ho namin yung mga names and identities of those who are suspicious individual in jurisdiction for safety purposes. So kaya ho nagpapasalamat din yung mga taga Batangas na madali nilang nahanap yung kanilang mga evacuees, yung mga kanilang kabarangay. Pupunta lang ho sila sa aming operation center, sabihin lang yung pangalan ng kanilang mga evacuees at maituro ho kagad namin kung nasa ang household yung kanilang mga kabarangay. So next slide po. So eto, isa pa po to sa ating COVID-19, no? Yung coronavirus disease natin. March ho ito nakarating dito sa Pilipinas, no? So yung ating Taal eruption ay January. Natapos ho yung namin sa Taal eruption, almost March na rin ho. So nagpapahinga yung aming incident management team at katatapos nga lang ho doon sa Taal eruption, so dumating ho naman itong COVID-19. So kami ho ay isa sa Cavite na kami ho ang kauna-unahan nag-lockdown sa Cavite, and then nagpatawag ho kagad si Mayor ng meeting at ginamit ho yung CBMS data para sa pagpaplano. So easily by using CBMS data, na budget kagad namin kasi alam namin kung ilan yung mga beneficiaries namin, magkano yung budget namin. So dito nakuha kagad namin yung mga data na kailangan para sa pag-responde namin. So using CBS data din, yung Social Amelioration Program na kung saan may 2,984 household lang yung nagkasya sa budget na galing sa national. So by CBMS, dito lang sa amin may tinatawag kaming saklolo sa kakulangan. Kasi noong maalis ho namin lahat ng bibigyan ng relief o ng assistance ng national government, yung aming 650 beneficiaries ay sila ho yung mga hindi nakasama sa lahat ng bibigyan ng ayuda. So nakuha ko kaagad namin yung mga names noong 600 beneficiaries. So ito ho tinawag naming saklolo sa kakulungan na binigyan ho namin ng 4,000 pesos per individual na hindi nakasama sa lahat na binigyan ng ayuda. So na-locate na ho kagad namin yung pregnant women and yung iba pa na nakapaloob ho dito sa slides na to. So next slide please. So ito ho, the goal is to turn data into information and information into insight. So maraming salamat po at handa po akong sumagot kung merong mga kailangang sagutin, kung merong mga tanong na itatanong po sa atin. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation, Sir Reyes. No, I guess one of my takeaways from your presentation is that yung simpleng bagay na pag-collect ng data, madami kayong napaggamitan. Just like yung presentation ni Ms. Pantino. Okay. So, from all of these insightful presentations, I'm sure our participants have not only been inspired, but are itching to dig deeper into our presenters' ideas. So let's go ahead and answer some questions from our participants. Okay, let's see here what questions we have. Okay, can we also have Ms. Pantino on screen since we might also be asking some questions for her? Okay, there, thank you. So our first question comes from Minerva Tuluan Maramag, asking from Facebook. This is directed to Ms. Pantino. Her question is, how can GIS be able to easily solve issues on boundary disputes?
You know what? Yan ang unang tanong, sabi ko, yan ang unang tanong na makukuha ko. Why? It's all the problem po lahat ng LGU. Actually, the boundaries, we have basis po kung saan ang source mo. If you believe, we have many sources of maps. Una, tax map. Pangalawa, cadastral map. Titles. At saka yung mapa ng sariling barangay. So, tignan nyo lahat ng 4-class map na yan. Pag nilay nyo over the database itself, hindi sila magkakapareho. Okay? We have been doing the identification of boundaries. So, anong sinasabi namin? If you're using a planning, nagpa-plan ka lang, use the cadastral map kasi meron siyang basis. Huwag kang kukuha ng mga sources mo. To identify kasi kung saan sila, kung issue natin is tax map, kasi doon ang what they call this one, yung mga ira ng mga barangay, use that. Kasi yun yung ginagamit ng DBM. Okay? Kung kadastro naman, yun ang ginagamit ng mga surveyor, di ba? To identify the location of a barangay para ma-identify mo siya. And then kung sa title naman, easily ba bibilib ka? Ako, sa LGU namin, ang isang ospital na malaki, 3 ang nagki-claim. Okay, anong basis sa mga surveyor? You cannot change it kasi may mga source yan. Lalo na ang mismong title itself kasi registry of deeds yan. Ang makikita lang natin, ma-overlay natin, alin ba dito ang tama o hindi. Kaya ang ginagamit, including po yung survey sa election, di ba? Iba pa rin siya. So ang kailangan lang, kung anong gagawin mo, gamitin mo yung basis ng titulo or tax map o ang kadaso or whatever. Meaning, hindi mo sila pwedeng imamatch kasi those are different agencies na mga malalaki. Kaya ang NAMRIA is by boundary siya ng, kuminsan by region or by province, di ba? Pag macro na ang planning. So, wag lang po kayong magbibigay ng disclaimer or magbigay kayo ng disclaimer na this is for planning use only. Like ang planning office po, siguro alam ni Sir yan, pareho po tayong MPDO, Sir Roland. Nagbibigay po ako ng certifications sa titling ng mga residential as to identify na mga pre-patent sila. And then naka-identify po doon, we don't provide the ownership of the land kung i-disclaim namin or the boundary. Titignan lang po namin kung mostly ang ginagamit po are the titles kung may available or the subdivision plan. So binibase po doon. Other than that, hindi po ako pwedeng mag-change ng kung ano ang meron. So as much possible may basis ako. What kind of plans that we are using para hindi sila malito. Yung pag-resolve po ng mga boundaries, iba-iba pong paraan.
Thank you for addressing that question, Ms. Elsa. Mahirap nga, no? Yung boundaries talaga. Problema natin yan sa people addressing each other's lines of authority. Now, we have a question coming from YouTube from Ms. Aloha Penaranda of Napolcom Region 7. Addressed to Sir Roilan. Sir, what are some significant challenges in the use of CBMS data in your governance?
So yung isang challenge so namin dyan ay wala ho namang masyadong challenges. Ang kwan lang ho namin ay kung minsan yung aming ibang yung ibang na-survey o na data na na-survey ay ito, halimbawa yung aming mga kababayan ay napalipat na sa ibang bayan, kaya kung minsan nagkakaroon ng hindi na masyadong accurate yung data kasi nagkasawa sila, ano, lumipat ng ibang bayan. Ngayon pag halimbawa bibigay kaming mga pangangailangan, wala na pala doon yung ano na to, no? Wala naman hong masyadong challenges.
Okay, that's good to hear, sir. Himala, no? Walang challenges, ano? Okay. Our next question is addressed to Miss Our next question is addressed to Ms. Pantino. Actually, we have two sets of questions here about costs. So, pagsasamahin ko na lang sila, Ms. Pantino. Okay? So, first question comes from Ms. Wendell Tan from YouTube. May I ask the first speaker, how much did it cost for the lot data computation secured for LMB? And then, meron pang isa nang galing from isa lang pala. They asked it both times in both locations. Yeah, yun lang. Cost daw po.
Cost on the data captured?
I'll repeat it po. Cost for the lot data computation secured from LMB.
The cost lang po ng ano, yung what you call it, we prepare a letter signed by our mayor then to get the lot data computation from LMB. So ang cost lang po yan yung pagpiprint out. Malalaki po yan, di ba? Books siya. Para ma-check lang, hindi naman kami nagbayad kasi government to government po tayo, di ba? It's just a copy. So yung mga new subdivision plan, medyo yun, pinalibre na po namin yung mga certification, di ba? Pag kumukuha ka ng subdivision na meron certain fee. So medyo pinawave po namin yan through a letter from the LGU to the head ng director po ng LMB tsaka sa Registry of Deeds kung ano mga subdivision plans sa DNR. Yung cost lang po ng subdivision plan itself. So mostly printing costs or scanning costs. Ngayon po kasi ini-scan na lang, di ba? So pati po yung mga kumukuha sa amin na mga copy ng aming subdivision plan, kung minsan kinukuha na ng picture, pero meron siyang research fee para naman makuha namin kahit konti yung mga expenses namin traveling and then yung cost din namin ng reproduction. But hindi siya marami. Importante lang po is coordinate with your regional LMB and then kasi government to government use naman po, hindi natin gagamitin for commercial. So actually sinecure na namin ito before the pinatubo kasi naglahar siya sa city of San Fernando eh. So yung cost niya hindi malaki at ang ginamit ko lang po yung MOOE ng aming office.
Okay, thank you for answering, Ms. Pantino. Okay, our next question comes from YouTube, from Aida Geraldo, addressed to Sir Roilan. Sinasabi ni Ms. Aida, good afternoon for Sir Reyes. Since the system is critical in decision-making, how do you ensure that the data being used for CBMS are updated? Thank you.
Yun nga po, nag-update kami every 3 years. Every 3 years, ina-update namin yung aming CBMS para sa pagpaplano, alam namin na ito ay updated. And then meron na kami isang ginagawa, yung LCR o Local Civil Registrar, from time to time or monthly, nagsasabit ho sa amin ng data about doon sa kung sino na yung namatay o sino yung bagong panganak, and then ina-update din ho namin sa barangay. So, every 3 years ho kasi, di syempre may namatay na dyan, so, monthly, parang meron din ho kaming ginagawang updating in numbers, no? So, masasabi namin, updated ho talaga at magagamit namin to sa talagang pagpaplano namin.
Okay, thank you, Sir Reyes. And then I guess we have one last question from, they did not provide their name, but this comes from YouTube. And I guess I'm appropriating this question. This question was originally addressed to Sir Roilan, but I'm also going to frame this question for Ms. Pantino. The question is, if you need to sell and convince other LGUs to establish and maintain their own CBMS or yung Geographic Information System, what benefits will you present to them? How will you convince them para gawin nila? Okay. Si Miss Pantino.
Okay. One po. It's now a requirement in the preparation of a CLUP na dapat digitize ang map mo. You are forced, sinasabi, napupwersa po tayo na digitize na. Kahit lang yung road network mo, yung river channels mo, yung mga utilities, kasi it's one of the requirements sa preparation ng SIDRA, climate change plan, hazard map, hindi naman pwedeng ipadudro mo every time sa labas. Kaya if you have to digitize it, actually, ang DILG po is nagkaka-training siya using quantum GIS. Actually po, ginagamit din namin yan. So we have, yung pong staff namin is pinatitrain namin. Tapos, minamatch po yung data, pinapasok din sa muffin po. So you can use other open source map para ma-convince. Siguro hindi na kailangan convincing. It's a requirement po to have a digitized map, at least spatial map. Yung po sa amin, nasa level na po kami ng mga parceliary. So, to the point na ang next level niya is ima-match mo yung information ng tax declaration sa mga existing parceliary namin kung updated na siya. And then you could check on that matter, kung mag-check mo kung sino nagbabayad, sinong hindi. Lalo na ngayon is a requirement sa SDLG, you have an increase of, should have an increase of yung mga payments nila every year. So alam naman natin the bloodline of any LGUs is sa real property tsaka sa business. So yun po yung next project namin to identify it. Kasi kung minsan, it's so hard to check na ilan sa LGU to, yung mga may business permit na actualize natin sa labas, bayad ba yan o hindi nagbabayad. So kung pwede mo siyang i-mapping through a tagging. Kaya nga, buti naman ngayon, yung mga cellphone lang is kung i-match mo, i-download mo yung tagging, makukuha mo. Actually, meron din po kami CBMS siguro on our part, na map na namin. Kaya lang sabi nga, sa laki ng mga volume ng mga data is start small, kung ano lang yung re-required mo na, yun ang gawin para hindi ka mabulunan sa mga laki ng mga dokumento mo. Okay, so importante lang po is meron ka special map and then one at a time gawin mo kung ano yung required and then ma-build up mo unti-unti.
Thank you, Ms. Elsa. How about for you, Sir Roilan? Ay, sir, nakamute po kayo, sir. Yan.
Okay pa.
Thank you.
Ayan. So, gusto kong i-convince yung ibang LGU to establish ang kanilang CBMS. Na, kasi base sa experience namin, pag meron tayong CBMS, napakadali natin gawin yung ating mga plano. Lahat ng mga plano, halos nandoon na yung kailangan mo eh. No? So, mag-extra ka lang within a minute, kuha mo na. So, kaya kami halos lahat ng plano na mandated ng ating national government, ginawa namin. No? At saka kaya yan. Kami ang sabi ng ibang munisipyo, mahal ang CBMS. Kami fourth class municipality. Kung nagawa naming fourth class, bakit hindi magagawa ng iba? No? Kaya nyo yan. Kaya natin yan. So dahil din sa CBMS, halos nga lahat ng plano at lahat ng mga ginagawa namin sa munisipyo ay madala namin matapos. From 2018, 2019, no, 2020, kami ho ay nakapasa sa SGLG. At ngayon ho, kami ay nasa shortlist din para sa validation ng national na, no, this coming September 8. So, hindi ho napapaalwa ng buhay ng CBMS ang lahat ng mga decision makers, lahat ng mga planners, kasi halos lahat nandito na. So, ang benefits na na mai-present namin talaga sa kanila ay yung mga plano, halos nagawa namin lahat. At ako talaga pumupunta sa ibang LGU, hinihili ko sila, iniinggit ko sila, kinukonvince ko sila. Pinipresent namin ang aming CBMS sa ibang bayan at pagkatapos namin mag-present, ayun, nag-CBMS na rin sila. So mag-CBMS po tayo at aalawan ang buhay ng ating mga decision maker at lahat ng mga planners. Yun lang po.
Thank you, Sir Roilan, and thank you, Ms. Pantino. Actually, sabi sa akin ng support team namin, we still have time for a few more questions. So let's have a few more questions. Last two, tigisa po tayo. Our first question, our second to the last question is addressed to Ms. Pantino. Their question is, they're asking how long did it take to implement the project? Coming from Facebook, from Jillian Gonzalez.
How will I say it? At the time po nag-start yung training ko, the Australian study, yung start siya 1997-98. At the time, we were able to encode yung mga lot data computation, and then through the system na kadastro na binigay, so naglabas ka agad ng mapa. But at that time, nag-start pa rin akong nag-aaral. Okay? Paano mo makukuha yung other information needed para at least magamit mo siya. Ang GIS po is a long-term project, and we all know, alam ni Sir Roilan yan na tambakan tayo ng trabaho ng DILG, di ba? Hindi ka na makahinga. Kulang na nga lang po i-chair namin yung electric chair, sabi nga ng isang kasama ko, kasi puro ka committee, chairmanship, secretary, pag may plano ang rini-required, bagsak sa atin, di ba, sir? So, ang kailangan lang po is don't deviate on your project. I have been in the LGU for so long. Siguro this is my 5 mayor na po na with this project. So importante lang is pagkatapos ng isang SGLG lang sir, ang compilation, grabe, di ba? After a while, balik ka. Continuous po ang data gathering nito. And then as you go on po, pag may na-complete ka na, like kailangan ng assessor office na mag-validate sila sa labas para hindi dadala yung tax map. Ano ba yung tax map, di ba? Ano nasisira na sa site, pina-plaster na lang, di ba? So ang gagawin namin, wala naman kaming platter, pina-plot niya in a certain, sa typewriting po, dinidikit with a certain scale. Anong gusto mong scale? 1:5,000 para makita mo yung maliliit. And then bine-verify nila sa labas yun. Tapos sine-encode sa data nila. So pinagamit po namin ang database namin kasi nasa pulsariary na nga eh. Tapos ang engineering gagawa ng vicinity. Hindi naman every time na, gawa sa planning, kailangan mo to. So you have to unload yourself na yung mga use nilang mga plans o maps, sila nang gumawa. Tinuruan po namin, simple lang, ito to. Ang step po, itong gawin para makagawa ng vicinity. Di ba? Kung medyo technical, kung di rin namin alam, nagtatanong din po kami. Importante lang, i-unload mo ang sarili mo. Pag under yung spatial map, sila nang gagawa. Okay? Tinuruan po namin mga sessions lang na short na ito lang yung gagawin mo. Huwag mo ituro lahat at talagang mahihilo ka. Pati po ako mahihilo. So, one thing at a time para kung anong LGUs lang, yun lang. Ang kagandahan lang po, when they use, nagkaroon ng after the Pinatubo, we have the project ng Pinatubo Hazard Mitigation Project ng national government under the JICA. So nag-identify sila ng mga new road network, new diversion channel. Mabilis po ang research. Bakit? Kinuha lang yung data sa amin. Hindi na sila nag-research sa region. Tapos identification sa field, coordinate lang, dala-dala yung sample map. So the work is easier, sabi nga ni Sir, lalo na kung may CBMS, mabilis siya, and then ang research mo to one area lang. Kaya kami rin po sa office, nagtatanggap po kami ng mga researchers, like mga geodetic engineers na nagpapasubdivide. There's no need for them to go sa Land Management Bureau. Pag available yung subdivision, kinokolate po namin at nandun sa opisina. Okay, so mura lang po, 50 pesos per research fee. Pero sila nang bahalang magpa-scan o print sa labas. Yan po.
Okay, thank you, Miss. And then one last question na talaga. Last question to Sir Roilan. Coming from Facebook, from Genevieve Magandoron Abangan. They ask, what's the impact on the local economy by rolling out the CBMS?
Okay po, by rolling out the CBMS, makukuha natin yung mga kababayan natin na walang trabaho, makukuha natin yung mga yung sa mga negosyo, yung sa mga potential na kailangan para sa ekonomiya. May extract natin yung data, kaya halimbawa kung yung buong Cavite ay makapag-CBMS, so doon sa mga walang trabaho, walang hanap buhay o walang mga negosyo, ay makikita natin, matutulungan natin kung anong agency ang pwede nang ilapit sa kanila, o kung pwedeng alin ang puntahan nila, o mapagplanuhan ng Cavite o ng LGU kung alin ba talaga yung may maraming mga unmet needs, no? Kailangan mahanap natin yung mga unmet needs at yun ang pagplanuhan ng lokal o ng probinsya at iakyat natin hanggang nasyonal. So we can easily locate kung nasaan sila, sino sila, ano kailangan nila, at pati sa turismo ay mabuboost din natin dahil makikita din natin lahat yung mga potential na pwede nating i-develop. So by rolling out CBMS, malaki talaga ang impact nito sa ating local economy.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you, Sir Roilan. And that's all the time we have. This was a webinar series on productivity initiatives to improve service delivery in the local government. To close this webinar series, we'd like to extend our sincerest appreciation to our case presenters for being with us today, despite their busy schedules. Thank you very much, Ms. Pantino and Ms. Reyes. And before we go, we would like to again remind our participants that in order to get an e-certificate of attendance, you should, number 1, accomplish the session evaluation forms, and 2, pass the exam. The link to the unified evaluation forms and the exam will be shared in the chat box of Facebook and YouTube. The deadline of submission for these will be on Monday, September 5 at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Thank you everyone for your support and see you on our next webinars. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your day.